Hi guys, Robbie here. Welcome back to another short video. Today we're going to talk about staking tomatoes and caging them up. The varieties that I'm talking about today are mainly indeterminate tomatoes, which means the tree will actually grow up and set fruit all at different times, and they'll ripen from the bottom up the top. So the fruit will just keep ripening over a long period of time. Whereas a determinate tomato, all the fruit will set at once and they'll all ripen at once. But I don't really like growing them because all your fruit's going to be set at once and you've got to deal with all these tomatoes at one point, which is alright if you're canning or something like that, but I don't really do a lot of canning. I like to be able to just come out and pick a tomato as I need it and know that every time I come out there's going to be tomatoes ready. Here in southeast Queensland, I like to put the tomato seedlings in as early as I can in autumn, just when it's starting to cool off a bit, because in summer it's just too hot to grow tomatoes here outdoors, so you've got to wait till the cooler climates to grow them. These two plants behind me that I'm growing are called Mighty Reds. The height of them, it says on the label here, grows to 1.5 meters, but as you can see behind me, these plants are already over 1.5 meters. They'll probably more likely grow to at least 2 meters high. That's why you really need to cage these. You can't just have them on one big stake. Well, you can, but you're not going to get as much fruit out of them. So this is why I cage them up. I stake them initially until they get up to a certain height, and then I'll get a cage, which I'm about to show you, and I'll cage them up. This way you can have several stalks rather than one, because they can easily support several stalks, these trees, and heaps of fruit. You get a lot more fruit. You're probably going to get about 50 to 100 fruit off every tree. These are a medium-sized tomato and fairly disease resistant. That's why I've chosen these ones. Plus they're indeterminate, so I know they'll be a great variety to grow up and cage. You can see all I've basically done here is just planted the tomato in the ground. I've planted it nice and deep. I've taken off a couple of leaves up the trunk and planted it as deep as I could, because the roots will just come out from the main trunk and just create a lot bigger, healthier root system. So I've just got one main stake in there at the moment on both of them. And what I've been doing is not letting it sprout out. I've been taking all the suckers off the bottom. There was some branches and suckers coming out here. I've just slowly taken them all off because I don't want it branching out at the bottom. And these ones here, I'm just going to take out. When it's up about half a meter from the bottom, I've let one sucker grow on both of them. So these are pretty much identical the way I've pruned them. And just keep taking off your bottom branches. And this is I've let one sucker grow up on both of these, because what I want in the end, I want about 4 or 5 main branches coming up that's going to hold tomatoes. So it's going to come from 1 up to 2 and then up to about 5 or 6 at the top. So I've just tied these up with bread ties at the moment. You can just buy them from the shop in a container. They're just made for tying up plants, and you just reuse them. Make sure you do them nice and loose like I have. Don't do them tight, otherwise you'll strangle the plant. So just tie them up that stake quite loose. And these ones are a bit overdue for getting the cages on them. See, if I left them any longer, these would start to snap. They'd be just reaching up too high. This plant's already easily 5 foot tall, a bit over. So they're well and truly overdue to get the cages on them. Well, I'm going to go find myself some cages and I'll be back in a minute. So these are the cages I had from last year. Just had them squashed and flat packed away. But all it is mesh. Buy rolls of mesh from Bunnings or one of your stores that sells stuff for garden centres or something like that. Make sure it's something that's got nice big holes in it where you can get your hand through. You don't want to be squeezing your hands through to get you to your tomatoes. So you just want to wrap them up, fold them over, make a cylinder out of them, pretty basic, and then just wire them together with themselves. So that's one cage, and what you want 3 stakes for each cage. And you want to set your stakes out around the outside of your tomato, exactly the same diameter as your cage. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, knock in 3 stakes, and then I'll show you. There you go, I've knocked in 3 stakes around each plant, roughly about the same diameter as the cage. Now what I'll do is I'll lower the cage over the timber and just feed the plant in where it's hanging out as I go down. And that's about as far down as I want it to be. So it's quite high, see, it's about 7 or 8 foot tall, 2 foot above the 6 foot fence. Because those tomatoes are going to go right up high and fill that whole area. Keeps them up high in the breeze too, stops them from getting a lot of diseases when they're up there in the breeze. So what I do now, I just get some, it's a wire, and I just tie it off to me timber just so it can't slide down or move. Okay, so I've just placed both cages over the stakes now, about the similar height, and I'm just going to cut myself some of this tie wire, really thin wire, some short pieces, and then I'm just going to fix it around the stakes just so the cages can't move or fall down. It doesn't take much to stop them from moving. A couple of bits of wire on each stake's enough. Gets quite a bit of friction pretty quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all that to all the stakes. So there you have it, guys. We have 2 cages in place on 3 stakes each. So yeah, any first signs of any disease on any of your leaves, just take them off. A lot of your lower leaves, you can just snip off. You don't want it putting too much energy into your leaves. So a lot of the lower leaves just snip off, not really needed. The low ones are the ones that are going to start getting disease all the time. I'll just pick them up in a minute. And I don't usually compost them leaves or anything, I just throw them in the bin. So then as the plant grows up, you just lift the leaves out like so, and you'll find they'll just hook on and support themselves. You won't have to tie up anything else. You won't have to use any more ties the whole time. You just pull the leaves out as they grow up and just keep poking the end shoot back inside. Yeah, this is a real game changer really since I started growing me tomatoes like this. I'll have to do an update video in a couple of weeks and show you how much they've grown. These tomatoes are just out of control. They're growing so quick. These have literally been in the ground for about 4 weeks and they're already 4 foot tall, 5 foot. They're growing so quick. So very happy with this variety so far. No disease either. No signs of disease, just like the label says. And it's already got fruit on it. It's already setting fruit. So yeah, we should get 50 to 100 tomatoes easy off each one of these plants. And now this will just give them plenty of room to grow. They won't be stressed out now. They'll always have something to hang on to. After you get a little bit of rain, it doesn't hurt to give them a bit of a real light spray of a watered down lime sulphur. Just helps with them getting disease. You don't want to water the leaves on tomatoes. Never water the leaves. Only ever water them at the base. And through winter, only ever water them in the morning. You don't want them having cold feet at night time. It'll kill them. The only way you can really push your tomatoes through winter here in southeast Queensland is heavily mulch the bottom. I haven't mulched it yet, but I'm going to really heavily mulch around the bottom, and that'll help push them through winter. Because if they get cold roots at night time, that'll kill your tomatoes. And once it starts setting tomatoes like this, you don't really want to feed it any more nitrogen. Just potassium and phosphorus. They don't need it. It's just going to put a lot more into green growth, and you don't want that. You just want it to, once they get to this stage, you just want all that energy to going into setting fruit now. Well, thanks for joining me today on this little venture of caging up your tomatoes, and I really think you should definitely give this way a go and see how it goes for you, because it's really done well for me in the past. And as I said, you seem to get a lot less disease on your plants due to them being up high and in the breeze and drying out. You don't want your leaves on your tomatoes to stay wet and moist. Hence, that's why you want to take off a lot of your leaves. So yeah, I'll have to do an update in a couple of weeks to see how these are going, but they'll be right up to the top of these cages before we know it. Probably only in 2 weeks, and there'll be probably 50 tomatoes on each plant within 2 weeks. Yeah, well, thanks again for joining in, and please like and share and comment. Ask me a question if you want to know something about it, and take it easy. Until next time, see you later. Bye.